Hey guys, it's Drew from the Money Is Show, and today on our guest, we have a special guest all the way from Newport Beach, California, probably one of my favorite towns of all time, in one of my favorite states, except for the politics. Okay, let me not get into that. But look, Nick Long came out here from the show today, and Nick Long is the CEO and founder of the Multiple Equity as well as Multiple Club. And we're gonna dive into both of those, and their main purpose is how do you scale and then sell your business. You're an entrepreneur right now, and you're trying to get your business off the ground and grow to the next level, and one day you have this idea that you want to sell this for a X amount to get out of this and cash out. This is a man that can help you scale and then sell your business. So pay attention to the show. We're going to ask him how to do that. How can you learn from what he's done so far? He's done over $400 million in revenue. Last 7 out of 8 companies have hit over 8 figures in his own personal business. Plus he's helped entrepreneurs just like you scale and sell their business. On that note, Nick Long, thanks for coming to the show, man.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I had a kind of a crazy day.
Crazy day. Like, you're like one of the most connected men I can think of.
Yes, I haven't done that in a while, and or actually, I've never done it with a guest. Actually, it's just we had so much in common on our passion for entrepreneurship and helping others, and I think we both live by a motto of value first.
Yes, of course.
And value, and there's just some cool connections. I'm like, dude, I got to introduce you to some people.
That was great. I mean, It was totally unplanned, and I was telling Brian off camera, I was like, I could do this all day long. Because I love going into businesses and like seeing them and dissecting them, and but then too, as I'm sitting there, same thing like you, value first, I'm thinking, where can I add value for this guy, right? And how can I help him accomplish more of what he wants?
Actually, on that point, Nick, I mean, I know you have the Multiple Club and Multiple Equity, and I know we're going to talk about Multiple Equity first.
Right.
But let's just stay on this topic for a second. As an entrepreneur that's out there, let's talk about value first. What is that, especially in the Multiple Club, what does that mean to you when you talk about value first? And as an entrepreneur, what should they be looking for in value first?
So everybody, like, they always like look to see what they can get out of something. Rather than come in with the frame of like, almost like the law of reciprocity, like what value can I bring? Because value to me is a giant boomerang, right?
Yeah.
Like the harder and farther I throw it away from me, the faster it actually comes back to me. And everybody says, oh, you're an entrepreneur. I'm like, I'm just kind of a relationship guy, and I connect good people, and that ends up just, having a natural proliferation into more deal flow, which actually just kind of lands right back on my lap, you know? And then I just recognize those opportunities and step into them.
It's funny, I was talking to some entrepreneurs recently, and they sat down and asking me basically the same question on like, how do you scale, or how do you grow this? Like, they were talking more from not a business perspective, but a brand perspective, and which is a business in itself. But and that was one of the things I told them. I was like, dude, you gotta do what you love. You gotta then add value.
Right.
What does that impact? How are you gonna impact someone? And anytime I get around any entrepreneur, and I know you have the same feelings, is I am literally looking, how do I impact that person's life?
Yep.
Like, how do I right now do something for you that's gonna benefit you when you leave here? It's a benefit to you.
Because what ultimately happens, right? Because then I'm like, wow, Drew was so great. Like, what am I thinking?
Yeah,
how
for sure.
how can
you sit in the truck?
Yeah, how can I impact and benefit him?
Yeah, you sit in the truck. You're like, dude, as soon as you come to California, I'm gonna introduce you to like all these different people.
We're going on the same road show.
We're going on a road show.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the point of what I was doing. It has nothing to do with trying to get a tit for tat later.
No, I could, and you could feel that genuinely, right? Like you could feel when it's forced. But then what you don't know that I know just watching is I could see when you walk in, like it's open arms, because they know that whoever you're bringing, you're not there to waste their time. In fact, you were very, very protective of all those people's times that we walked into, and you're like, look, hey, you told us 30 minutes, it's now 31, I gotta go, right? And so they can see that, and so I'm an observer of that, and I'm like, I can sense the genuineness nature of that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I think for the viewers, it's a massive takeaway that you were talking about, which is value first.
Yeah.
Like, just deliver that value, and you'll be amazed. You use the illustration of a boomerang.
Yeah.
It comes back to you. On that note, let's talk about, you got 2 things that are like cranking right now.
Yeah.
I know you've done a ton of other businesses, but right now you got this Multiple Equity and Multiple Club.
Yep.
Sort of this ethos incubator type concept.
Yeah.
Let's go through Multiple Equity, because you're the founder and CEO of Multiple Equity.
Yeah.
Kind of break that down for us.
Yeah, co-founder and CEO of Multiple Equity. And so Multiple Equity was birthed out of pain.
Okay.
And I think a lot of businesses are birthed out of trying to solve a problem, right? Sometimes it's just solving your own financial problem. Sometimes it's solving a genuine problem. So I saw a huge gap in the market when I was scaling my last business. I joke around that it was financed by the B of N. People are like, who is that? I'm like, the Bank of Nick, right?
Yeah.
And literally it was my wife and I. We weren't even married at the time. We were two broke kids, and we had what I call a big ass why, which was we wanted to get married. We had to pay for our own marriage, our own wedding. We wanted a world-class honeymoon, and we had a mountain of debt. And so we started with 2 cell phones and this big why, and that literally turned into a company doing $30 million a year with 250 plus employees. But every time I scaled, it required more and more and more and more money. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to go raise money. I'm going to go raise money for this business. And I was too big for kind of venture. We were kind of out of that angel round, like the friends and family round. And so we were sitting in what I didn't know then, which I clearly know now, is what I call investor purgatory. Okay. Right? So I hired a gentleman. He did a fantastic job. He introduced me to 50 different private equity firms. So I always say I got 50 first dates. Yeah. I got a handful of second and third dates. I got to the altar with 2, only to be left alone. And I was very disenfranchised by the whole process because across the desk for me was someone who had a lot of pedigree, right? Mm-hmm. They had a finance degree from Harvard or Yale, and they're really good in the world of finance. But they didn't know that I had a PhD in the School of Hard Knocks, in the streets, in Scrappy, and that, like, I'm like, man, like, I turned 2 cell phones into $30 million. Imagine what I could do if you just invest in me. And they were looking beyond me, and they were looking at my business at like digits and decimal points, rather than like, flesh and blood and heart and soul. And the conversation went something like this: Nick, we love you. You did a great job with this. You should be super proud. It's just not a fit for us. And I kept hearing this over and over again. And so what I found was, like, the private equity world, for the most part, they have these finite boxes that they put businesses into. Well, like, who runs the businesses?
Right, people, you.
Yeah, me. Exactly. But they don't. They completely discount that. And so I like had this kind of aha moment. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to create a fund for entrepreneurs, by entrepreneurs. Someone that knows what it's like to sit in that chair. Yeah. Someone that knows what it's like to run an infrastructure like this. Someone that knows what it's like to run short on payroll. Mm-hmm. Someone that knows what it's like to get turned down by banks and credit facilities and all that kind of stuff. But someone that also knows that, like, this is merely a reflection of who you are. Mm-hmm. Right? And so when I'm investing into you and my belief into you that you're going to take this to the next level. The only thing that's missing is the right capital and the right mentorship. So that's how multiple equity kind of was birthed. Yeah.
So you created multiple equity really out of the hard knocks of going through entrepreneurship yourself, right? And you tell all those things, I'm like, yep, check, done that. Yeah. Yep, not payroll around the corner, not yep, check. I know how that feels, right? And not be able to get a loan from a bank and all this different stuff. You kind of built multiple equity from the entrepreneur standpoint of knowing what it feels like, knowing what it takes, knowing the sacrifice entrepreneurs put out there. And this is a way that they can actually talk to an entrepreneur who understands it and then be able to get the capital they actually need from another entrepreneur.
Right, and not only just the capital, because I mean, money is money, right? Not all money not all money's smart, and not all money goes to work and has leverage, right? So it's not only the money, but it's the mentorship, and it's that backstop, that sounding board that they can lean up against. And we bring in what we call like the business Avengers, because there's tons of areas of business. There's marketing, there's finance, there's sales, there's fulfillment, there's HR, there's culture, there's all these different components. And well, like typically entrepreneurs kind of have one superhuman strength, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm a people person, I'm a like visionary. Yeah. Like I suck at operations and execution, right? Yeah. And I'm like you. I want to go around. I want to shake hands and kiss babies. Yeah. I don't want to look at the details of the spreadsheet. I go straight to the bottom line. So what we've done is we've brought in specialists in each one of those modalities. Sure. Where it's like, if you think about the Avengers, right? Like you got Iron Man, you got Thor, you got Hulk. They're all like standalone. They're all blockbusters. Yeah. But when they bring them together, they're a franchise, right? And sometimes you need a little Iron Man. Sometimes Hulk needs to come in and turn some furniture around, and sometimes you just need Thor to drop the hammer. But I don't need Iron Man to try to be Thor. You never see that happening, right? So what we do is we say, hey, look, Drew, you're a superhero. Let us bring in these other superheroes that can insulate you in the areas that you're weak, and together, like with the proper capital and the proper mentorship, and then we have one more twist, we can accelerate this timeline for you, and all of us get what we want by helping you get more of what you want. That value first proposition.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, I talk about a lot. Everybody has their own gifts, or I'll use in your framework, I'm going to use the word superpower.
Right.
We all have our own superpower, right? Hulk has his superpower, Thor has their superpower, and one of the biggest mistakes that I've made coming up as an entrepreneur is by not using my superpower and trying to do something else that's not my superpower, but I felt like, oh, I'm going to go do this, and I was dabbling in this, and not only was it not my superpower, it might have been my kryptonite.
100%.
You know what I mean? And
100%. I was actually going to say that. I was like, oftentimes when we try to be a superhero that we're not, all we end up finding is kryptonite. And actually, when that happens, what that does is it actually takes away from our superhuman strength over here, because we start to have self-doubt, frustration, all those things, which like inevitably kind of pierce us as a superhero.
Yeah, for sure. And when you're over there dabbling in your kryptonite, you are not using your superpower that you were given. That is your gift. That is your strong suit, right? And the other thing that on this topic of superpower and kryptonite that I have a pretty strong opinion on, I'm going to see if you have the same opinion or different opinion. What's your opinion on spending time trying to develop and grow, if you will, your kryptonite, or what you're not good at? You mentioned operations, right? What's your opinion on you trying to develop and grow that?
No way. It's
the dumbest thing in the world.
It's a waste of time.
It's a waste.
It's a waste of time. Like, that's why the world goes around, is because each one of us have like this weakness that's someone else's strength, or a strength that's someone else's weakness. So what I do is, like, the more I became self-aware of who I was, what I was good at, what I wasn't good at, and quite frankly, what I didn't like to do.
Yeah.
I brought in people that was their thing, but they didn't want to be me. There's only one Drew, there's only one Nick, right? So I can never be you can never be me. And I'm sure that a lot of our personalities are aligned, but you know, my partner G, like, we're the yin and the yang.
Yeah, sure.
And because we have that yin and the yang, like, we can end up like, it's not a 1 + 1 = 2. It's not even 1 + 1 = 3. It's like you just take one, remove the plus, and put them together. It's 11.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
It's funny because we went on these 2 meetings today, and you know, me and you are very, very similar. Visionary, hate operations.
Right.
I don't even want to see a spreadsheet minus the bottom line. But then I make everybody else run off of a spreadsheet.
100%.
But I just don't want to see it.
Yeah.
But and being a people person, seeing the yin and yang that you just mentioned between you and your partner G. In the 2 meetings, I knew going into it on the first one with Kellen, I was going to have more Kellen talk to G.
Right.
And I knew with Bucked Up with Ryan, I was going to have you and Ryan.
And that's
get
exactly
together.
what happened.
Just because it's like, that's the natural fit, and there's going to be an immediate synergy connection.
And so, and then see, when you operate like in a true partnership or in the spirit of abundance, like, I mean,
there was no
let Iron Man step in, and I'll step back, right? So that
and G did it, you did it, and he did it.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, well, this was a meeting that was really built around, even the personality and the concept was really G driven and or you driven, and each of you, as a partner, took a back seat to let the other one use their superpower.
Well, and then also too, like, both of us were like, hey, how can we provide value? Oh, you need to meet this person, or you need to meet that person.
You did it in the meeting, right?
Right. That's just how it happens.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that I think it's a complete waste of time. When I read these freaking books, I will stop reading the book if someone starts telling me that I should go spend time on growing these other weaknesses, and I should be an average of growing up, and
you should go amplify your superhuman
like all
strength.
and multiplied on top of what your strength is inside of it. So inside of multiple equity, you built this equity firm that's out there in putting capital inside of these other entrepreneurs' businesses, which normally they wouldn't be able to get and acquire. You have this motto. Now let me back up before I go to that. Because inside of multiple equity, you now have to go find clientele.
Yes.
Like, okay, great. You got this awesome PE firm that can invest in entrepreneurs. From an entrepreneur standpoint, you get it, but you got clientele.
Yeah, you got to have deal flow.
Yeah.
You have to have deal flow. And there's a twist to multiple equity that's I believe it's unique to the marketplace, because I haven't seen it. And so, like, we were when G and I were sitting down and we were talking about this thing. I was already doing. I exited from my last business, and I was doing a lot of. I hate the word coach, but I was doing a lot of like comprehensive consulting, and I'm an accelerator guy, so I can come into an organization and help them accelerate pretty fast. And so we had this we drew a circle of this mentorship, and then we drew the circle of the money or the capital, and then G's a technologist, and then we drew the circle of technology, and kind of where that Venn diagram all meet, where you have money, mentorship, and technology. I mean, it blew me away because most people can't change the valuation multiple of their business because they're tech deficient. Well, if you look at any of the top 100 companies, they're the highest value in the United States. 80% of them are tech companies. But how do you become a tech company, right? Well, you have three options. You can pay for it by meaning purchase it, go purchase another tech company. Good luck, because now you're paying that multiple and you're competing with people who probably have a lot more money with you. You can buy or you can build it. I mean, that's like that's an endless hole, and like I'm not a tech guy, you're not a tech guy, or you can partner with it, right?
Yeah.
And so what we offer is a true partnership where we inject this code into these businesses, but we inject it with the capital, with the proper mentorship to insulate that entrepreneur, and with the right capital to actually get it to scale, so we can accelerate that like sort of hockey stick curve, and ultimately the entrepreneur gets way more than they ever could have gotten their own. And we, as the investors slash kind of mentors, we get a piece of it, right? So that's where we call it reimagining enterprise value, and really coming at it from that frame of like, how can we get Drew like to the finish line faster, but beyond what he ever thought was possible for himself.
Right. Yeah, because if you make it where it's way beyond, let's say, what I by myself or ABC entrepreneur by themselves could get to, it's a no-brainer for that person to go want to and pay for and put the time in to go partner.
Yeah, 100%.
Because an example is like I'm gonna use myself as an example. By myself, I could let's say just take my company to 10 million.
Right.
But if I had the right money to market explode it, if I had the right mentorship to actually coach me through this process, and if I had the right technology to cut down all my expenses outgo and efficiency increase.
And allow for infinite scale.
Then at that point, I could go from a 10 million to 100 million.
Right.
Even if in that process, on the technology side, even if I give up, I'm gonna make up a number, 25% of my company, the 25% that I gave up of 100 million is 25 million. I still have 75 million left over, and I was gonna take it at 10 times.
It's 7.5 times what you got on your own. And if you can get there in half the time and not do it alone, that's the thing. Being an entrepreneur, I don't have to tell you, it's a lonely proposition.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so true because here at our office, actually you're here on a Monday, and in a room over there has been my partners and everybody in the room since you've been here.
Yeah, I think like most of the locks are here on the outside, but I think that one you've locked them on the inside.
On the inside.
Yeah, because I haven't seen them come out.
It's this crazy freaking 12-hour meeting that we go through every Monday on all the different companies. And when I was first talking to my team about starting like a mastermind, they're like, dude, who would want to pay for that? That doesn't make any sense. Like, what business would pay you to come and network and collaborate on different things? You're like, this isn't gonna work. And it took them a while to figure out, and to eventually what I said to them was, guys, the reason you don't think they're gonna do it is entrepreneurship is lonely.
100%.
Here it's different because we have maybe 600 staff and employees.
Right.
And so every Monday, eventually what I said to him is, dude, every Monday you're in a mastermind.
Right.
You have CEOs, CFOs, CMOs, you have these high-level call centers, you have all this team together, and you guys are going through these businesses, dissecting them, breaking them apart, and then figuring out how to tweak and grow them. I'm like, you're in a mastermind.
100%. It's just not labeled as labeled as a meeting.
Yeah.
But every meeting is a mastermind, because if you think back to like the origins of the mastermind with Napoleon Hill, he says like wherever two or more minds are gathered, there's this third mind, which is the mastermind, because it's our ideas sort of colliding like out in the ether to come up with a better idea that we both latch onto, and then we run. So every meeting that you have as an employee or as an entrepreneur essentially is a mastermind. A mastermind, in the sense of what we call it today, is all these entrepreneurs getting together, getting to get outside of their container, right? AKA their business, where no one will really challenge them or tell them,
they're the king.
They're the king, right? But then they get to go to a council of kings and queens, and then they get to like sit there and like bounce ideas off of it. And then all of a sudden you see like, oh my God, like I'm not alone.
Yep.
I'm not the only one feeling this, right? So then you kind of feel less broken, and when you feel less broken, you feel more whole. You actually come back into that container with more certainty to your team, and then your business starts to excel as a result. Yeah,
for sure, man. And that's what I was going with. It's like, as an entrepreneur, you're freaking so lonely, especially you're starting off. It's like you and 3 people, and like you said, you're kind of like the king or queen of this, and nobody's really trying to necessarily challenge or go back and push back and say, well, what if we did it this way?
Right.
And that's why people can and should attend masterminds.
100%.
Dude, they are like the most valuable thing that I've ever seen in my life.
100%.
If you get in a good mastermind where there's legitimately like qualifications and so forth, where you're not in a random room with random people, dude, they are some of the most powerful rooms that I've ever seen.
I'm not only a teacher, I'm also a student of masterminds, right? So I've probably spent over $500,000 on my own personal development masterminds and mostly masterminds and networking groups with entrepreneurs. And I attribute a lot of the acceleration I had in my last business directly to that. Yeah. It's also permission based, right? Yeah. Because it's not like I get there and I go, man, Drew's doing this, and I have like this kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Jealousy or resentment of you. I go, wow. It's like, why him? Why not me? Yeah. Right. And then I look at, oh man, he's doing that. And you're like, dude, have you tried this or that? And I go back and apply it, and all of a sudden it's that whole permission, give yourself permission to think bigger, do more. And, there's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Yeah. We say, if you want both, come to Multiple Equity and Multiple Club.
Before we move on to Multiple Club, let me go back to Multiple Equity. If they want to find out, invest with you alongside your LP, whatever it is, inside of Multiple Equity, because they're kind of getting in some, as you're about to find out, they're kind of getting in before the curb, if you will. Yeah. Before the hockey stick, maybe is a good terminology. Right. So if they wanted to invest or be part of or learn more about Multiple Equity, where's the best way for them to go?
So they can go to multipleequity.com, and that's just the website. There's not really much on there because we're very selective on the money that we take. Because again, like if we're going to partner with someone, we want to make sure that they're the right partner. Sure. And that they get our model and they understand us. But they can just email me directly, nick@multipleequity.com.
Is your first name Nick at multipleequity.com?
Yeah, just NICK@multipleequity.com. You can just put Money Is Show, and I'll know that you're coming off of this. But just know that we're like super selective on who we bring into the fund, just because like they have to have the same belief system that we do. Yeah. Because we're not like, in fact, we've turned more people away that wanted to invest than actually we've taken in from an investor perspective.
Yeah. On that note, right there's a great topic of you talk about in this example, talking about raising capital or having people perhaps invest. I think one of the most important things is having people, even staff, your team, investors, is buying into the company philosophy or the company vision more than do they check the boxes on ABC that I'm looking for.
100%. Like I always say when someone comes for an interview or you see their resume, that's the ambassador version of themselves, right? The ambassador, where they're sending their best polished version forward. It's like no one puts on the resume like after a few months I tend to show up late, and no one says that, right? So for me, I'm an EQ guy over IQ, emotional quotient over intelligent quotient. But like I like to feel people and see who they really are. And we kind of live in 90-day containers across the board, like in my own personal life and our professional life. And so like even like if I really feel it with you, Drew, I'm like, you know what? Let's do this. Like consider this a 90-day interview. Like I want to bring you on, but like at any time in this 90 days, you can walk away if it's not a good fit for you, and I can walk away if it's not a good fit for me. What that does is it creates like clear expectations. And then, because you'll really get to see who somebody is inside of that 90 days, and if they're going to gel with your culture and your people and all that kind of stuff. And then if they don't, it's a simple conversation. It's like, hey, Andrew, remember how we talked about that 90-day thing, man? Well, it looks like our time is up. Yeah, or conversely, it gives you where you're like, hey man, this is not really what I signed up for. And I'm like, great. I'd rather have that person walk away than try to force that square peg into a round hole. Because like that cancer in way of a person, their attitude, their belief system could actually infect the entire organization.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's so important to, and this goes into our visionary side, opposite of operations side, right? I can see Eddie, who we both know, over there screaming like, no, you got to have this and this, and do so much of when I hire an interview is so much based on, I believe this person can catch the dream, the vision, and are they going to help pull this thing on that dream and vision, or is it they're on their own path and their own, which is fine. I have nothing against that. Right. I'm on my own path, right? But when we go to hire, bring on somebody, it's like, no, you got to be on our path and our philosophy and our culture.
And that's kind of like the ideology that we use when we invest, right?
Yeah, same thing, right?
Is this person going to kind of be in alignment with our belief system, and or do our belief systems, sort of align? So speaking of the hiring process, though, what I do though is I put like my staff in front of me first, because I'm like, everybody's awesome. Let's hire everybody, like Happy Panda when you come to my interview desk. But I'll put them through like kind of the ringer, and then my desk is the last one that they land on, so I can say, I like them, And typically they won't get that far. So again, strength.
Yeah, weakness. Yep.
Insulated with the weakness.
Yeah, for sure, man. Okay, so let's talk about multiple club now.
Yeah, for sure.
Because this is badass what you guys have going on in this. You refer to it as a container, incubators, different things, right? You have multiple equity, which then kind of led into multiple clubs.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
And give us the big picture right now of what multiple club is and why you started.
Yeah. So if you think back to my own pain point, my own story is that like I wanted the investor to see me first, right, and see who I was and see like the journey that I had been down, and then understand that my business is merely a reflection of me. I always say like your business is the shadow that you cast as big as you become as a human being. And so when we looked at like, all right, well, if we're investing into the entrepreneur, we're investing into the jockey, not the horse, right? So the right man or woman, the right model, right, the proper amount of money, the right monetization strategy, mentorship, and then the maximum valuation that we can get for it. So we said we want to create a container. And it's like Shark Tank meets business boot camp, right? Imagine like, Kevin O'Leary. Like imagine Kevin O'Leary said, hey, calling all entrepreneurs, I'm willing to invest in your business, but you got to come through XYZ gate. The first gate is you got to be willing to invest in yourself. I'm going to give you all of my wisdom, all of my years of entrepreneurial struggles and successes. I'm going to give you all these tools. I'm going to lay all these axes down at all of your feet. I'm going to show you where the forest is. I'm going to show you how to swing the axe. I'm going to show you how to chop down the tree. And whoever clears that forest the fastest, that's the person I'm betting in. I mean, you'd have people like banging down the door, right? But what would Kevin O'Leary have? He would have a way for him to kind of like, before he puts his capital and his investors' capital at risk, he'd have a way to see which entrepreneur actually is going to do the work. Who is actually going to be willing to pick up that axe and chop down those trees. And so from multiple equity, we said, all right, why do most businesses fail? Well, like they fail because they're undercapitalized or they're poorly run. And most of the time they're undercapitalized because they're poorly run. And most of the time they're poorly run is because the entrepreneur has some sort of like limiting belief, or they just don't know. They just never been in this situation before, where they can come to our table and be like, oh man, I've seen that 6 ways to Sunday. You need to call this person, this person, this person, or you need to go do this, or you need to go do that, right? But then once you tell them that, it's on them to actually go do it, right? So when we said, all right, how do we mitigate our risk as a fund? And how do we maximize our return? Well, we're going to start with the greatest asset inside of the business, which is the founder, CEO, entrepreneur. We're going to pour into them, and we're going to show them like this holistic approach to life. We're going to see how they show up to that. And as we're in the grandstands kind of watching these horses run, we're like, bingo, that's who I want to invest in. That's who I want to invest in. That's who I want to invest in. And then we invite them to the table. We already know them. We know their habits. We know their patterns. We know their behaviors. We know their limiting beliefs. We know their sedation mechanisms. We know all of these things about them. So we fully know them. And then we have a higher propensity to say, yes, Andrew's going to carry out this mission. And not only are we going to get behind him with our capital, we're going to get behind him with our technology, and we're going to get behind him with our whole business suite of Avengers, and we're going to war.
Yeah.
We're going to war with that type of person because that's the type of person we can go to war with.
I got tons of questions here, but my first one is like, when you have these businesses come in, number one, you guys at Multiple Club there, these people already are in business.
Yes.
They're not there to try to start
their business. No. We're not in startup land. Like, I mean, I love startups. I'll probably, I'm actually invested in a couple startups outside of the fund. But like that's risky capital, right?
Yeah,
And a lot of these guys, they're actually placing a bet on 1 in 10, 2 in 10. Like we want to have 10 out of 10, and we want our 10 out of 10 to be all hundreds type of thing. So no startups. They're already in business. They're either profitable or they're knocking on the door being profitable. Typically, they're 7-figure businesses because to join our container, it's not cheap, and we don't want it to be. And there's probably somewhere between a couple million and say 40 or 50 million. Like we want to be that like accelerator, right? We want to be that ramp that takes them up to the next big exit, whether it's traditional private equity, it's a strategic, it's a public IPO, because that's where like we will get the maximum return, but the entrepreneur will as well. And they're sort of sitting in this purgatory, this paradigm where they can't get money from anybody else, or if they can, they've got to give up way too much, and it doesn't make any sense, right?
Or who they're giving up. I see this a lot. Who they are trying to give equity, or who they did give equity to, is not actually the person or team that's going to solve that actual problem.
No.
For you. Maybe they solve one of the 3 for them.
Right.
And you talk about the 3, right? Capital, mentorship,
and technology.
money, mentorship, and technology, right? And as an entrepreneur, you're like, you feel like you're dying, overwhelmed. And you're like, oh my God, I got to find this thing. And you end up a lot of times partnering with the wrong person.
100%.
And you give equity to the wrong person.
You do that, why? Out of scarcity, right? Yeah. And so, first of all, what we help do inside, so what we did is we created this container. Mm-hmm. Some call it a mastermind, but really what it is it's a container of like how to scale, how to sell, and how to overall increase your enterprise value. So we invite them into this community, and it's invite only. Like we don't take everybody because we're not in it to be a mastermind. We're in it to be a private equity firm, and this is how we sort of curate our deal flow, right? And so we invite them in. We tell them, hey, look, we're not willing to invest in anybody that's not willing to invest in themselves. I see this so many times. People are like, hey, Nick, I want 200 grand, 300 grand, $1 million. Put the number in there. And I'm like, cool. So tell me what you're doing to invest in yourself. Like, what do you mean? What masterminds are you joining? Like, what courses are you taking? What networking groups are you doing?
What mentors have you hired?
What mentors are you hiring? How much time are you spending on yourself? And they're like, oh, dude, I can't. I'm spending all my time in my business. And I'm like, don't you think therein lies the problem? So you want me to invest in you. So you want me to come out of pocket and invest $200,000-$300,000, and you've invested nothing into yourself, and you're the reflection of the business. And so, you kind of just turn the mirror back on them. We're like, look, your problem and your solution lie in the same reflection.
Yep.
Like, what are you willing to do? Because, when they come in, like not everybody that comes into the multiple club gets an investment by no stretch of the imagination. Why? Well, because like I said, not everybody's willing to do what's required. But sometimes like we don't.
It's not a good fit for you.
We don't add value there, right?
Yeah.
And so, but inside of our container, they are going to learn our proprietary rev model, which is revenue EBITDA valuation. They're going to learn our holistic approach, which we call the core 4. They're going to learn our CEO C4, which is how to actually be a CEO. They're going to learn financial literacy. Like 100% of the people will get the money back times some by coming into our container. The creme de la creme, those are the ones that get invited to the table for a deeper conversation about us injecting the capital, the technology, and the mentorship. They all get the mentorship,
right?
But not all of them will get to the finish line, with the money and the.
When you guys invest in a company, that you guys, you kind of made the analogy that you're sitting in the stands and you're watching the jockeys and the horses run the race, and you guys, the cream kind of rises to the top, and you say, hey, I want to invest in that company right there. Give the viewer something that's like, what is some of those indicators in your brain that's like, hey, because of this, it makes me want to invest. Because of this, it makes me want to invest. What are some of those things?
So for me, like it's all about the person, right? And then, like I said, that teachability index, right? I want to see like the latency or lack thereof of like, so they join on a Saturday, like how quickly they're just consuming the course content, the community calls, how they're immersing themselves into that community. I'm also watching to see if they show up with value first, or if they're just here to take. Because if they're here to take, what are they going to do from us when we put our time and our money in it, right? They're going to take. So we're watching all of that, and we're watching them to see how they accelerate, like with the tools that have been laid down at their feet, right? We're looking at how vulnerable they are, their ability to take constructive criticism and feedback. So we're looking at all of those things, and we sort of have an ascension model, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, hey, you can go as fast or as slow as you want. Here's the model. Here's where the conversation starts of us investing, because all of this. So we have this. I was sharing with you in your office. IV equals EV. Intrapersonal value will ultimately dictate and determine your enterprise value, aka self-worth will determine net worth. Mm-hmm. Network, will determine net worth, all of those things. And so we're seeing like who's willing to take that IV, the intrapersonal value, and plug it in every single day. Mm-hmm. When they don't want to, when times are hard, when they have a death in the family, when they have, like all the stuff that life throws at us. Like we want to, that's the dark hour that we're really kind of like looking for to see how they navigate through those waters. Because if they can navigate through those waters, man, like business itself is fairly simple. Business doesn't have problems. Business has people and their problems. Like multiple equity doesn't have any problems. It has me and my problems. It's my staff and my partners and their problems. So if we can mitigate that as the primary problem, then we can accelerate the actual solution, which is the same person, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for to see how quickly they pick this up, their teachability index, and how fast they're willing to accelerate in the process.
When you guys invest in a company, right, and you make a decision and say, okay, hey, we're gonna move our not just money but resources into this, right? You're gonna move your money, your mentorship, and your technology into a company like that. Do you guys keep everything underneath one big umbrella that you guys are gonna sell off one day, or are those individual investments that some will sell off, some won't sell off, that you guys own? Yeah,
so we're not a buy and hold firm by any stretch of the imagination. We're buy and sell. So we're an exit-based organization. There's bylaws. It's fully regulated by the SEC. So we have to be out of all of our positions within 7 years, right? Mm-hmm. We want to go much faster than that, but that doesn't necessarily mean the entrepreneur who we're investing in has to get out 100%. We just have to get out as a fund. So let's just like a prime example, we'll invest into somebody, and then it gets to the next stage, and now big PEs coming in with the 50, 100, 200 million, they can buy us out, right?
Your part.
Yeah, at whatever the fair market enterprise value is. The entrepreneur can take some chips off the table, and then they can get recapitalized for the next stage. Mm-hmm. So. Or we all collectively decide that we're getting out together. Typically, we're taking minority positions, but we're very clear with our intentions when we're going in that, look, this is like a 3 to 5 year play for us.
What do you see for big picture for money club, a multiple club, or multiple equity? What is the kind of the end vision there?
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny because it's like, I think when you find like true alignment in your life, things just kind of accelerate organically, and that's what we're experiencing with both multiple equity and multiple club. We've already had like a feverish amount of activity, so we're capping multiple club at 75 members, and we're probably right around 30-35 right now, because like we can't be all things to all people.
Yeah.
Like our mission is not to take 1 billion people and 100x their lives. Like we want to take 100 people and billion-x their lives. Sure. Because those 100 people at 1 billion-x can make way more impact than we can trying to get 1 billion at 100, right? And so we're capping it at 75. And from there, this year, we'll probably deploy 6 to 7 investments. People will fall off because they won't be willing to do what's required. And those seats will sort of be coveted by the right entrepreneur who aligns with our belief system, who wants this suite of Avengers to come work for them, who are tech deficient and want to get into the tech game, and who want the right amount of money. The ultimate goal for me, and we're getting there, is to take an entrepreneur that never thought they could have like this 8-figure, 9-figure, possibly 10-figure exit, radically change their life. Like any entrepreneur that's watching this, that's going after lifestyle money, you're going at it all wrong. It's about life-changing money, generational wealth creation. Like anybody that you admire, like they all started with some sort of exit plan in mind. So we want to take those entrepreneurs, get them to this massive 8-9 figure exit, and then give them a way to take that money and value first, pay it back into our fund.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a pay it back and pay it forward, or protect it by paying it forward. Now, you know, Drew comes in, you exit, you got $100 million, we get 25, you get 75. We go, hey, man, you're a young man. Take 25 and put it back into our fund, and now you go and be a portfolio protector and a portfolio proliferator in the same process that made you the money in the first place.
Right, right.
It's that whole permission-based mastermind mentality. Now you're sitting with a company that you're invested in, that we're invested in alongside of you, but not only invested, you know, from a capital perspective, we're also invested from an emotional perspective, because it was the same process that made you the money in the first place. So ideally, like, I don't want to take on any LP money in the future. LP stands for limited partner, aka investor, and just have it be this closed loop ecosystem.
For sure, yeah.
And now, like these entrepreneurs are like, how the hell do I get into the multiple club? How do I get a seat at the table to prove that, like, I am worth the investment, me first, and that they will see that reflected in me and they will invest in me.
Yeah.
You know, and so we're starting a community called the Exit Ramp, because we just know that we can't serve like more than 75 people in the multiple club at a time, but we can start to warm up the people that like want to get to that level, right? They want a seat at the table, and so, you know, we're going to have a big Exit Ramp community, you know, 75 entrepreneurs inside the multiple club at any given time. The idea is it's hard to get into, it's hard to stay in, but it's only made hard by the person who's looking in the mirror, right? And then be able to deploy a handful of investments this year. We're really close to a couple right now, and have a couple exits under our belt. I mean, that's where this thing's really going.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's such a unique model, because I do not want to use the word mastermind, because it's not really a mastermind.
Right.
It's just a word that I think we can use as a placeholder.
Yeah, we use language to describe all these things.
Yeah,
you know?
quick sense to a lot of people. But truthfully, what you've built is a lot more than a mastermind, right? It's really an ecosystem within itself that's helping the entrepreneur.
It's an investing ecosystem.
Yeah, scale and grow on a constant level from all the different multiples that you guys have coming in with the technology platform, which we haven't really dove a lot into the technology side, which is the partner side, but you have this whole other side that's not just like, hey, here's knowledge and content, right, and mentorship. There's this really other big component here, which is like the technology side, which is where you're able to really take and scale someone's business to an infinite degree, just depending on what the business is, that you guys are bringing to the table as well.
100%.
Through this whole process.
Yeah, 100%. Like if you look at, like, you know, businesses, like what's the value of a business, right? It's kind of like a slide rule. It's your EBITDA times whatever, EBITDA, net profit, times whatever your industry kind of standard is, right? If you're service-based, it's 3 to 5 times your net profit. If you're recurring revenue, that might jump up. If you're a SaaS-based technology company, it goes up exponentially, right? So when you look at an entrepreneur who's just, say, in like a service-based business, and they're doing $2 million a year in profit, and then, you know, industry tells them, like, oh, that's worth 3.5 times. So you're like, oh shit, okay, my business is worth $8 million. Like, nah, I'm not going to sell it for that. Then the entrepreneur kind of scratches their head and goes, like, how do I get that, like, 10-figure, you know, 9-figure exit? So what we've done, which is we believe is unique, is that we actually kind of bring in our tech stack, right? It wasn't written by me, it's written by G, he's a brilliant technologist. And like now we repackage that company, right? We work on the operational deficiencies, and what ultimately ends up driving revenue drives EBITDA. But then we go and say, hey, this is no longer a tech, or this is no longer a service business, this is a tech service business, or this is a tech solar company, or this is a tech mortgage company, right? And package them and position them out there in the world. And now that same valuation multiple goes from a 4 to a 12.
Yeah.
Right. So now that business, like done right, at 2 million, goes from being worth, you know, 8 million to 12. It goes to 24 million, and the entrepreneur gives us a piece. Let's call it 30%. They're still walking with 200 to 300 times more than they would have on their own. That's why we say you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. You want both, come with us, right?
Yeah.
And this blew my mind when G and I sat down, because I had a big business, right? $30 million a year. And at one point I got offered $30 million for it. And I always tell G, like, I want to wring your neck, man, because I wish I would have met you 2 or 3 years prior. And I'm glad I didn't, because like there are no coincidences, but that business would have been worth exponentially more.
Yeah, yeah.
And so this is what we do when we get in the room with entrepreneurs. I'm not, up there teaching or preaching from some book I read and I regurgitated. Like, I'm showing them my scar. And I'm like, you see this? Like, don't let this happen to you. Right? Don't be the guy that gets sucked down the lifestyle money road. That was me in my late 20s, like financially free and emotionally bankrupt.
Yeah.
Like, and so we talk about real stuff that actually takes place inside of a business, and oftentimes inside the business owner's mind, but they're unwilling to say. And we create this community where they can like be seen and truly be seen for who they are, and then create a way to become ultimately who they've been called to be.
Yeah.
Right? And so this technology play, it literally allows any business, for the most part, to go from a modest multiple to a tech multiple in a matter of like months. And so that 1 + 1, as I said, you remove it and you got 11, right?
I love that analogy. Just remove the plus between the two, and it goes from 1 to 2 to 11.
Just like, because that indicates there's something between us. Let's just remove that, and it's the two of us together, and that now you just see 11.
If someone watching wants to know more about Multiple Club, where do they go to get more information?
So
apply or whatever?
Yeah, so they can go over to multipleclub.com.
Okay.
You can follow us on Instagram. It's at The Multiple Club.
Just the in front of it.
Yeah, The Multiple Club on Instagram. The website, there's an application on there if they want to come to one of our scholarship-driven events, or they just want to even get on a conversation with me or one of our mentors. We're pretty cool. Like, we'll tell them, like, we always add value first, and we'll be like, hey, man, not a good fit. You need to go do this, this, and this. Or, hey, yes, you're a fit. Welcome to the community, right?
Yeah.
But everybody should know, like, it's not easy to get into. It's not cheap, and it's not easy to stay in, because like, that's business. Business is not cheap. It's not easy, and it's hard to keep up with. That's why most businesses fail. But most businesses fail because the business owner themselves fail, not the actual business. A business is brought to life by the owner and the person behind it.
Which is a great segue into my question of money is, because I love what you were just saying right there, because to me, business fail because of the owner, right? A business is a business, right? I mean, I have had businesses that failed, and looking at it, always thinking, oh, it was the market, or it was this, or it was this, and it took a guy that I think we both know, Larry Yatch, if you know Larry or not, and he was like, no, dude, he's like, you're just making that excuse up. He's like, did you know other, whatever the business was, businesses at the same time that was in the same business as you? And I was like, well, yeah. He's like, okay, and when you failed, did they fail? I was like, well, no, not all of them. He's like, okay, so the ones that didn't fail, why didn't they fail? At the end of the day, it was because
it's all you.
It's me.
And we need a story. We need like something to latch onto as entrepreneurs, as human beings in general.
Sure.
That it can't be outside, or it has to be outside of us. It's not inside of us.
Yeah.
Like, every business that has succeeded or failed that I've run was 100% because of me.
Yeah, it was you. At the end of the day, you can. And when they say the buck stops here,
right?
I don't think we always take that into heart and say, no, dude, it really is just you. If this thing fails, it's you, because there's other business owners that are in the same business. I don't care if it's a dog walking business that are succeeding right now. It's just that you failed, not the business itself failed. But in that point, you're talking about how hard business is. Like you just mentioned, like, dude, business is hard. Business is expensive. Business is tough, right? I think it's one of the reasons why when I created the Money Is Blank, Money Is Show, was because I think a big mistake that entrepreneurs make is they want that lifestyle money, right? Which is BS. I mean, and I'm not upset at them, because hell, that's what when I got started.
Hell,
it's like, dude,
man.
I want the lifestyle money.
Dude, my nickname in my 20s was Ferrari Nick, man. Faux hawk, bedazzled shirt, blinged out watch.
For sure, bro.
Woo, too fast, too furious.
I would love those photos right there, bro. I would love to pull some of those photos.
I'll show you after the show.
But dude, I mean, like because I was out there traveling and teaching entrepreneurs, and I was so frustrated because I was like, dude, you guys don't understand how freaking hard what we're talking about is. Like, I'm trying to get this presentation to make it like scary and harder for you. Because if you go do this, it's so freaking difficult.
It's an all-in proposition.
And I used to talk about that, like, no, you can't put a foot in.
Right.
You can't, like, this isn't something you're going to warm your way into.
Right.
Because there's other people that are in the same industry, in your same market, that are all in right now.
Right.
And if you're not all in, how are you going to compete with that person? Right?
100%.
And to me, money is like, bro, but why are you doing this?
Right.
Because when it gets tough, and me and you both know how those wounds, scars, that say, hey, when it got tough, and it left a scar, no, I stayed in though.
Yep.
You know, I stayed in. Yeah, I went down, but I stayed in.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And to me, that's what the whole money show is really about, is what I'm trying to get to people is like, okay, but what is the real reason of why you want money? Because it can't be for some Ferrari.
Right.
Not that I'm against Ferraris, and there's a time and a place for a Ferrari, but it can't be the end goal.
Right.
There's got to be something bigger than that, right?
Yeah.
So on that point right here, Nick, I got your photo here, and the money is blank with Nick Long, and I got the multiple club
it looks good,
logo
man.
branding behind it there for you. And so I'm going to have you put whatever this answer is, and then put the big John Hancock here, and then I want to talk to you about it to figure out what that reason is.
So I don't reveal it. I just
don't reveal it
just
yet.
Just write it.
You write it in there,
right.
and then
All right.
we'll reveal it and share it together here. It's my favorite part of the show.
I hope I spelled it right, man.
Dude, I forgot to tell you.
I'm a terrible speller.
This is let me put it down so I don't see it. This is my fault, and I should have done it. I need to put a note up here. It is amazing how many times we've had people misspell the word.
Really?
I mean, it happens frequently.
I'm terrible speller.
It's something about it. Well, a lot of times
I'm good at copy, horrible at spelling.
It's not even that they're bad at spelling, but something happens when they go like to write it on the thing.
Yeah.
They're like, wait a second, dog, C-A-T, and it's like you're not even close. I have had to pull many signs, pause the show, go get the scrubbers, scrape the word off, and then clean it.
Did I spell it right?
Yeah, you're good.
All right.
You're good. You're good. And I should have gave you a heads up. And I don't think we'll have to go check the signs outside. But this is one of my favorite times of the show because I get to know your answer, but I get to see if there's someone who has used this word or not. I don't believe anybody's used this word, and it is such a true concept, man. Like I don't think people understand how powerful this word is.
Yeah.
Of what you're about to show me here. So Nick Long here with the money. I mean, not the money. The multiple club as well as the multiple equity gave the word money is leverage. Money is leverage. And I think that is a word that is so underused. I don't mean the word underused, I mean the concept.
Right.
I don't think people understand how powerful of a word that is.
Right.
Let's break it down. Why did you put the word money is leverage?
Whew, so leverage, because I think everybody has like, and I love this by the way, this blank, fill in the blank, because everybody has this like ideology of what money is, you know? But money just is simply that, like it gives you leverage. It gives you leverage over time, gives you leverage over resources, gives you leverage, I don't want to say over relationships, but it gives you access to different relationships, which gives you intrinsically more leverage over time and all of these type of things. And so this is what I try to teach entrepreneurs that come into the multiple club and eventually into multiple equity. I'm like, look, you're taking your greatest vehicle of leverage, money, which you probably ultimately you want to create more time, and you're sucking it out into these assets that aren't really assets, they're depreciating assets, when you could be levering that money back into your business, right? Don't look at your business as a bank, look at it as an institution, or sorry, as an ATM, look at it as a bank, like the institution. And you can lever that up to have an exit that will blow your mind. And I give people this scenario all the time. I'm like, look, like let's just say you're pulling $2 million a year out of your business, and you pull $2 million out of your business for 10 years. That's $20 million, right? But let's just say in 5 years we can show you a way that you get $40 million. But you had to pay yourself only, $250,000 or $500,000. You had to have this thing that I know it's kind of new to the U.S. population called delayed gratification. And but that $40 million, do you know the leverage that $40 million gives you? At 8%, 10% in the market, you can never actually outrun that, right? Yeah. And so people don't look at money as this like ultimate lever. And so even when they go to invest in themselves, they look at, oh, I'm parting with like this money. I'm like, no, you're levering who you are into the next version of yourself. You're levering the rooms that you get into and get access to collapse time. Like money is a vehicle of leverage, and it's a vehicle of lift.
Yeah.
Because the more money I have, look, we can only drive one car, wear one watch, fly on one G6. Like, I can go leverage that into things that can actually help provide leverage in other people's life, opportunities they didn't have, charities that we can impact, like all of that kind of stuff. And take that value boomerang, and now that boomerang is huge, right?
Yeah.
With my vehicle of money, AKA leverage. And now when I whip that thing out in the universe, man, it just comes back tenfold.
Yeah, dude, leverage is such a powerful word, and how you described it is dead on accurate. I mean, and the whole time you're sitting there describing money as leverage, all I could think about was the multiple club.
Yep.
Like, if you think about the multiple club, you've built this ecosystem of leverage, and you're being able to get into a room and leverage all the pieces that you really need to get to that 40 million, in your example, $40 million exit, $50 million exit.
Yep.
Part of what the multiple club is a massive leverage.
That's all it is.
That you're able to go use. And you use the word permission. It's like you're giving yourself permission to go leverage what you should be going and leveraging, and not putting it into the assets that are not worth anything, such as, again, your great analogy of the ATM versus the institute.
Right.
Like, you got to choose one of those two.
You have to.
You can run a business as an ATM machine, which I've done it. We probably, as entrepreneurs, have all done it.
Oh, I've done it too many times.
But it's not what you're looking for. I promise you, it is not what you're looking for.
No, but like financially free and emotionally bankrupt, like that is the biggest recipe for like failure that I can ever imagine.
You're sacrificing one for the other, and at the end of the day, what you actually, when you actually get financially free, you'll realize what you actually wanted was what you could have had with no money.
Exactly.
If you just put the time into it, right?
Exactly.
But there is a way to have both.
There is a way to have both.
There's a 100% way to have both, but just understanding. I just think like the whole time about leverage and opportunity, I was just thinking about the multiple club, and really like it's what you built.
100%.
It's what you built.
And I built it as a vehicle for leverage for me.
For yourself.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm leveraging like all my experience. I'm leveraging my Rolodex. I'm leveraging partners. I'm leveraging technology to go get more money, which is going to provide more leverage and provide ultimately the lifestyle and life-changing things that are going to happen in my life, you know?
You know, I think about this. I think about, just because I think there's a lot of similarities between me and you, and I think about...
Did we just become best friends?
Did we just become best friends, Dad? But it's like, I think both of us have a very, very abundant mentality of life when it comes to business, when it comes to wealth, money, relationships, etc. And the truth be told, both of us run a type of, because I refused to call, you came in after the meeting that me and G were having, was like, I refused to call mine a mastermind. It's like, no, dude, I don't want a mastermind.
Right.
And I call mine power room. But inside of it, it's like, you run multiple club, I run power room. And there's some similarities and overlaps between the both of them, and then they all both have their own separate things. But I think one thing that makes me and you unique, and part of our success of where we had it, is just an abundance mentality.
100%.
This entire time that we've been together, it was never about you or me trying to hide something or not share something, or, oh, I don't want to tell you this. Dude, the whole thing was like, oh, no, bro, you should. I literally went and took you to a guy and said, you should have this guy speak.
Right, at your event.
At your event.
Right.
But I think.
And that guy's in your power room.
Yeah. But I think it's like part of, I think it's a piece that it goes back full circle to what we started this show off of, which was value.
Yeah.
And it's that abundance mentality. And to give true value, you have to give it with like nothing in red.
No.
You should have him.
Yeah.
And if he joins you, I want him to join your mastermind.
Right.
Because I think you could add massive value to his life.
That's funny, because the only other word I would have put on there is abundance.
Abundance, yeah.
Or I would have said abundant, right?
Yeah.
Money is abundant, or money is abundant.
Because to have it, you got to be abundant.
Right, and everybody always says, I got to go make more money. I was like, all the money in the world's been created.
It's already been created.
You just got to go create more value and attract more money to you, you know? And I wanted to talk about this real quick.
Sure.
Like, every entrepreneur like might be watching this going, well, Nick, you know what? Multiple club, not for me. Multiple equity is not for me. I'm not going to have an exit. I'm like, look, everybody's going to have an exit, right? Every entrepreneur is going to have an exit. How? Well, one, you're going to run your business into the ground because you're too
done that before.
Yeah, you're too hard-headed to say I need the help, right?
Sure.
And reach out and be vulnerable. The second is you're going to actually figure out a way to build a lifestyle business and build yourself out of a job, aka attract the right people around you. You're going to have a traditional exit where somebody's going to come in and acquire you. You're going to hand it down generationally, or you're going to die. Mm-hmm. Like, so don't tell me you're not going to have an exit. Like, we just want to help you get clear on what that exit looks like, and if we can align with you and help you get there faster and go further.
So let me ask this question. This is a great point that we didn't even talk about. Is it fair to say there's no way not to have an exit.
There's no
it's
way.
impossible. I'm seriously thinking through my head.
There's no, like, show me how you're not going to have an exit from a business. You're going to die.
Yeah.
You're going to pass it down. You're going to build yourself out. You're going to sell it, or you're going to run it into the ground. Like, you're going to have an exit.
You will have an exit.
So,
I don't care if you start a landscaping company.
You're going to have an exit.
You will have an exit.
Everybody, like, I've exited every business I've been into.
Yeah, I'm saying, think about all my business. Thinking,
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm not in any of them. Therefore, I had to exit somehow.
You had to exit somehow. And what we want to help you do is we want to help you enter that business or enter the next stage of that business as you want to exit.
Yeah.
That's what we
brilliant.
want. That's what we
it,
want.
Man. So powerful. And what a great ending thought there is like, dude, if you're in business right now, you can sit there and say, well, I don't really need it because I'm not going to exit. Like, no, the hell you are. You are going to exit.
You're going to exit.
It's just, why don't you cash in on that exit? Like,
why don't you leverage the greatest asset you
Yeah.
have, which is yourself,
Love
AKA
it.
put some money into yourself, which is just a reflection of your business, lever that up, and have the exit that you want.
Man, that is profound in many, many ways. On that point right there, Nick, I'm going to end it. I want to break down. I almost changed the show up today and did a big Jamboard session with you on my Jamboard because you were writing stuff on my desk. I'm like, this is so freaking good. We should go Jamboard
We can
this.
go. I can come back, man.
And put this on there because you were dropping some serious bombs on all the different categories in the core fours that you guys teach there at the Multiple Club as well. So you guys watching on the Money Is Show. Hey, thanks for watching the Money Is Show this week. This is Nick Long. You guys follow him at the Multiple Club on Instagram, as well as check out his website and see if you guys can qualify, fill the application, be part of the Multiple Club. We'll see Nick next time on the Money Is Show. We'll see you guys next week on the Money Is Show.